Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello viewers, welcome back to this course on food security. We are discussing about ESD's role in food security. So we are discussing about the poverty, then what are the drawbacks of lack of jobs and pandemic effects. So many things we are talking about. So to just to recapitulate all the things, now how can we enhance our food security? So there are so many techniques that we have already discussed. Now another technique, as we can see, that is the drip irrigation. Drip irrigation and solar energy panels. So these two things can also lead to the conservation of the natural resources, especially in the field of agriculture and food security. So however, more and more investment is also required to be given. So investment is needed so as to enhance the distribution of climate resilient crops, to deal with the temperature variation, to deal with any kind of climatic fluctuations, etc. So we need to invest more in the investment, more in the research, in the development, in the latest technology, that is which would be more climate resistant, resilient. So next, providing subsidies for the certain crops to the farmers, which that means as they are having some kinds of that means how to reconsider, that is there are some kind of substitutes, they are also having the adverse impact on the natural resources. So how to reduce that negative impacts, that means in terms of soil erosion or soil deteriorating the soil quality, etc. So how to we have to reconsider, that means evaluate again before providing subsidies for certain crops. So then sometimes government also must continue to render the support in forms of the agricultural credit and subsidies, then inputs and disaster reliefs and microfinance, micro insurance, all kind of the crops, etc., livestock, etc. So government also need to monitor it regularly and render support in terms of various facilities, privileges to and in various kinds of the disaster reliefs also, in terms of micro insurance, microfinance to all the farmers, farmers and the rural people. So now our very popular program, government's program, is the Manrega program. Manrega program, already it has increased the rule of wages and reduced the gender gaps in the wage discrimination differences between the male worker and the female worker. It also enabled us the better access for the food and reduce the distress of migration, etc. So that has to be continued. So all the Manrega facilities, the program activities, that has to be promoted, that has to be enhanced, that has to be continue with primarily focusing more on the women health, children's well-being, and the improvement of the health and education, like this thing. So now with the increased budget, technology and research and development, the status of food security that can be enhanced. Now in 2021-22 our union budget has already allocated the funding allocations for the health sector have been nearly doubled due to these pandemic issues. So the budget also for allocated more funds in the agricultural credit. Then now recently I think Prime Minister has also announced that some of the that means cash and capital has been sent to the farmers account and there is a large boosting policy. So similarly, all the other areas like animal husbandry, dairy farms, fisheries, poultry farms, these things can also be promoted from time to time. So, so primarily the focus would be given to more malnourished children and the malnourished mothers. So, the farmers, they must have the access to latest research, they can help improving the seed quality, decreasing the pest and disease problems, and increasing the crop sustainability, through rigorous kind of workshop, awareness camps, media, news, medias like through the regular feature in our All India Radio, that is the Krishi news, Krishi Sansar, Krishi news, etc. But besides that, I think they also should be given all other kinds of opportunity to enhance their awareness and knowledge in seed quality, updated research development that is happening in agriculture and food sustainability. So, how to increase the crop sustainability, and again there are different kinds of pesticides available for different disease plants, disease problems, etc. That has to be informed to them, and how to reduce this soil erosion, how to deal with the biodiversity. So, all these kinds of knowledge, this should be updated. So, all the agriculture farmers, rural people, they should be updated with all these kinds of information from time to time through different media channels and media sources. So, this is a framework given by MDPI. MDPI is a very popular, very international society. It is an international society working on sustainability. So, MDPI has given this framework, like framework, for example, how this, that means how to reduce the soil erosion, water erosion, and how to enhance the quality of the soil with less like temperature, how to keep it moderate, how to enhance the water retention capacity of the soil. These are some of the things that has to be that is one domain, that is the research can update from time to time. And the crop management, post harvesting, how the crops should be managed, should be managed properly, like for example with precision of water and nutritional management, with low wastage, with energy management, with ICT facilities, how this crop can be managed post harvesting. And again, along with this, the minimum soil disturbance, then even if that means our farmers are being engaged in different kinds of seasonal foods and plants and the plantations and the food crops, etc. But with the minimum soil erosion, with the minimum soil disturbance, like without destroying the quality of the soil, with the how the energy can be saved, how to reduce the soil erosion, how to make the how to reduce the greenhouse gases also, with all kinds of these steps and techniques. The intention, the purpose is how to improve the soil properties, soil features, soil properties. Then crop diversification, with the protection of the soils. Again, how can we diversify our crop, our farming or agricultural products and the crop throughout the year in a very diversified things, like from one type of crop harvesting to another kind of things, like for example distributing the different sometimes from time to time distributing the soil nutrients, reduce the risk of the weeds through pesticides, and how to, that means increase the soil's biological functioning. And depending on the seasonal effect, how can we vary in the same land, in the same field, how can we produce different types of crops from time to time with the variations. So, that can also not only enhance our food security, but also it also gives a kind of protect the earth quality, earth quality or the land quality also, so that the other kinds of the things can be managed, like optimal nutrition should be balanced, then systemic resilience can be enhanced, then soil biodiversity can be protected, and the similarly climatic management can also be enhancement. So, MDP has given this framework. So, before planning for our next season or the next year's plantation on the food processing plantation, all the harvesting kind of agricultural activities, now we should take into account this framework, starting from the how to protect the our land, the earth quality, land quality, then crop management, then minimum erosion of the lands and quality, and how to enhance the sustainability or the resilience of the land through diversifying the crops and taking other measures also. So, here as all of us we know, climate change is a very important factor in agriculture. The most the most serious challenge, you can say long term challenge, we can say with the global warming, etc. So, it has posed as a very long term challenge for agriculture. So, what can be done in this context? So, what can be done? Wheat displacement. Wheat displacement is such a thing, like for example, we can also go for other kinds of crops. We can go for other kinds of crops, as we have just discussed about diversifying our crops, like for example, millets, then the potatoes, yams and cassava, then you can say our dahlia, that means all kinds of other kinds of crops, bajra, these kind of things can be planted in the next as a new crop with the seasons, with the beginning of the new seasons. Similarly, we can also diversify our food baskets in terms like the varieties of things can be produced, like from time to time with the seasonal variations, like green leaf, sometimes green leaf vegetables to millets to yams to different kinds of food products can be items can be increased, so that we can diversify our food varieties, and accordingly we can also go for the new varieties of plantations. So, again this is a framework how climate change affects our agriculture, like the climate change due. So, because of the agriculture, what agriculture contribute to the climate change with the use of the excessive manufacturing, that means pesticides and all kinds of things, pesticides and fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. Now, it also increases these kind of gases like carbon dioxide, methane and the nitrous oxide. So, that causes that has the linkage, that causes the climate change, that also affects the climate. Similarly, again it results in terms of global warming, glacier melting, sea level rising, ocean soil acidification, all kinds of that. So, these are the after effects of this climate change. So, this cycle, that is climate change, that affects agriculture, and again agriculture also contributes something towards the environment, and which again is these are directed towards the climate change, and it has a negative impact on the environment. So, this cycle is going on. So, that is why nowadays we are facing the challenges, like emission of the greenhouse gases. This is the biggest challenge, emission of the greenhouse gases, and again food production for the increasing population. Again, more and with increasing population, our food demand requirement also increases like anything. So, in order to meet these challenges, one is the greenhouse effect, another is the more demand for the food productions, and keeping intact the food safety and security. So, how can we adopt a sustainable framework for our agricultural products and practices? So, similarly, watersheds are also important for the recharge groundwater. So, watersheds are also, but in terms of agricultural productions and in the short term, for example, farmers, they need to have the access to the water. So rainwater harvesting and other kinds of arrangements to preserve water, to conserve water, so that it can be it can be utilized for the ongoing agricultural plantations and the farm activities and the farmland activities. So, how to restore, how to conserve, how to sustainably use the water as a major resource, that is also an important factor. So, here again here we can say that the private sector also plays a very important role. So, of course, this agriculture activity is a multi-stakeholder partnership program. It is not just about farmers, it is not just about the rural people and agricultural lands or the policies, but a multi-sector partnership. So, here private sector can also play a very important role, major role. So, private sector can play important role in the sense that, like for example, to establish certain essential regulatory frameworks under the private sector, like for example, from their fund of CSR fund, they can also utilize their CSR fund in the agriculture for the agricultural benefits or the benefits of the rural people, so that it can enhance the food security in the rural things, and it can also forbid, it can also you can also protect from the food, that means food wastage. It can also reduce the food wastage in terms of their policies and the penalty and the punishment mechanisms. So, essential regulatory frameworks are also required, required to, that means to bring harmony in the society in terms of multi-stakeholder partnership like public effort, private sector's investment, then farmers effort, food security, and again avenues for the food security, conservation, etc. So for that reason we need to have the strong institutions. So we need to have the strong institutions which regulate, which coordinates, which controls this multi-stakeholder partnership. With a strong government and economic institutions, like for example NABARD. I am saying that NABARD is providing, giving the funds to the agricultural land, etc. Similarly, like NABARD, if we can have other regulatory mechanisms or the institution which can not only manage and coordinate with the stakeholders, multiple stakeholders, but also can have an watch on the quality checkup, quality assurance, quality improvement, and reducing the wastage and enhancing the sustainability of the earth, quality to the water resources, to all kinds of things. To coordinate all kinds of the activities, we must have the strong institutions, strong government, strong policies, and strong economic institutions also, who, that means along with the private sector and other stakeholders. So they can monitor, regulate, and from time to time give us the feedback. So in this food security also, private sector they contribute significantly, and they should also take up the responsibility of reducing this food wastage and enhancing the food security in terms of the local needs, global requirements and local needs, and how to work in harmony with the public efforts. So and how to engage the people, the direct and indirect stakeholders, engage the people with enhancing the awareness of not to waste food items, and what taking care of the health, and cleanliness and sanitation and drinking water, all kinds of things. They should be educated from time to time. So here again supporting the harmonious global trading institutions. Again, trade is also whatever we are producing, not just that we are keeping it, storing it for our own purpose, but we are also exporting it. So the important export transactions as trading that are being conducted by the global trading institutions. So there are so definitely they are updated. We need to have the updated import policy, export policy to maintain the long term world peace, okay, like as per the requirement of the countries, different countries requirements, food grains, materials, etc. So again due to that means due to some imbalance or due to some kind of conflict in the international scenario, sometimes some trade barriers also take place because of some other issues, political issues, and maybe defense or security reason issues also. So trade barriers also sometimes arises, which has to be these trade barriers to be taken, that means conscientiously, that is to impose barrier on which items and which are the necessary and on which items and not on other necessary items. So therefore that is why, so there must be a proper council, proper agency, that is proper establishment for this regulatory mechanism of trades and transactions, so maintenance of harmonious global trading institutions. So these things should be there, the councils or the regulatory bodies should be there to maintain the world peace and manage with these trade barriers wherever it exists. And the next is empowering the women to promote the food security. Definitely, as because the women take the major responsibility at the household activities. So the starting from the cooking to the managing the food throughout the month, etc., managing the crops, managing the even in helping the agricultural land, etc. So how to enhance, how to promote the food security and reduce the food wastage, all kinds of things. It also it's also very important factor, and the women should be educated and empowered because they primarily deal with these kind of things at home. So educating women and empowering them regarding this kind of thing, what is health consciousness or malnutrition, which type of crops, which type of foods consist of what type of proteins and nutrients and etc. So what is food security, how this food security is being negatively affected by our each and every family's consumption rate, that has to be educated. So education about the food and nutrition, not only the general education about the health consciousness, but also how to ensure the household security, food security, then mothers, that is why mothers education is very very important. And again also kind of that means distributed practice of circulating or distributing the distributing the access and opportunities and the knowledge and information among the women society, like through focus group discussion, through through panchayat meetings, through women society, women cooperative societies also thing. So not only they will be empowered to produce, to learn, to protect all kinds of things. So they will be more exposed to all kinds of preservation techniques also from time to time. That is to preserve for the long run, that is for the the different kind of cooperative activities on the pickle making and all kinds of the dry fruits, dry fish and other kinds of things. That is again another method of the food security for the long term purpose. So another next the home gardening. So kitchen garden, all of us mostly we are very fond of kitchen gardens due to the scarcity of space and urbanization etc. that has been limited. But again now the terrace gardening is also very popular nowadays in cities. So home gardening, terrace gardening. So government also sometimes gives some kind of subsidies and the loans etc. for maintaining this kind of kitchen gardens. So women and the women, especially rural women, can be given this kind of loans, this kind of access to develop their own kitchen gardens, home gardens, and even in the cities also terrace gardening also. So community can be helped in empowering themselves to provide this kind of nutritious food in their home garden. So and due to the limited stock of stock of these vegetables and in the market, so the price rise is a price rise of normally price rise of onions is a regular feature in our market. So how to reduce this kind of things? So to enlighten, to empower, to educate our people, especially the rural women, not only regarding the health but also the food security and the productivity and how to engage them in creating this kind of sustainable food items even in their kitchen garden. So again another that we are discussing, reducing the food wastage. So many all of us we witness so much of food wastage is being taking place in the urban cities and urban areas. So there must be some law, to penalize all these kind of things for wasting the product. So nowadays gradually the trend is shifting, like for example in the hostels etc., when the extra foods etc. are being distributed to animals and being distributed and extra foods are being sent to some kind of orphanage and some distributed among the poor people. That sort of things should be there, but otherwise a strict law and penalties would be imposed, because sometimes disposing the food people are habituated of disposing the food. They think that it is a very easiest method and cheaper method than reusing this kind of thing, or distributing or sending it to somebody else, some other place. So in that situation people should be penalized. Some kind of penalties and the punishment and the laws and regulatory acts should be there. Again, private companies should also invest to bring out these potential solutions to minimize the food wastage. They must come up with some kind of mechanism, some kind of strategy to minimize this food wastage. So companies can also influence consumer behavior by advocating, by motivating them, by educating them. So about the cost effectiveness, about its utility, about the hunger, the state of hunger of the people in our country, across the world. So making that, enhancing that awareness, and so that means and inducing their conscience to be empathetic towards others, and how poverty and hunger is a global problem, is a global problem, and how can we individually contribute little bit amount also towards the mitigation of this kind of global problem. So they should be, from time to time they should be educated, motivated, and regarding the sustainable consumption behavior, and not to waste the food, and how even if the food is being left out, then how can we utilize it by distributing among the animals, even animals, and the poor people. How can we distribute the poor people also from time to time? So then again now the latest technology is that artificial intelligence is also being used. Artificial intelligence is also being used to avoid this food wastage, like like this recycling process. This is recycling process, the recycling of the waste management, or the plastics or other kinds of the waste products recycling. Similarly, the AI can be, artificial intelligence can be used to avoid this food wastage, like a US based window uses the computer vision to help the commercial kitchens. So, they used to guide these commercial kitchens, who produce the large quantity of foods and around the world, to give them the suggestion strategies that how food is being wasted and how to minimize it, Similarly, Berlin based startup also solution Plantix also, it also aims to stop these good crops from being wasted when the farmers they can presume them and to be damaged. That means when like for example, all of it, that means this kind of climatic change due to sudden rain or sudden kind of climatic change, how to restore our food crops being wasted from being wasted. So, that restoration, storage, conservation, these kind of things can also be given through the process, like through a solution called Plantix, that is the mobile crop doctor, that is called the mobile crop doctor. Okay. So, by using this image recognition of the that help the farmers to diagnose these issues of the crops and can save it and protect it. So, wastelessness, again wastelessness is another thing, that is artificial intelligence that maintain to dynamic pricing on the items with the expiring date. So, this through this how this price regulation can be monitored, price regulation, price fluctuations can be monitored, and how the timely the farmers can be intimated regarding the risks involved in this particular climate and with the varieties of the crops, how to restore, how to be alert with regard to the risks involved in different kinds of crops and the food products. So, how to reduce the wastage, food wastage, etc. That is not only through AI. This is the technology as we are using AI, not only through AI, but like it is AI is easily available for the developed countries, but for the other developing countries it is through the advocacy, it is through the motivation, it is through the regulation, especially laws, regulations, and the corporates and private sectors being actively engaged with the strong institutions, nodal agencies, strong institution to regulate, to implement these policies and monitor and regulate the laws and rules must be established to reduce this food wastage and enhance the food security, especially in the developing countries. So, for that matter, it's a continuous learning. So, all the stakeholders from starting from the agriculture people to ministry to stakeholders to investors to farmers to consumers also, even the public, common public as the consumers, we must be updated from time to time regarding all the mechanisms of food processing, and similarly, so education departments would also be established. Like for example, here in our IIT Kharagpur, there is a food processing, food engineering, agriculture and food engineering department is there, which takes care of all kinds of research activities, organic farming, technology based thing, all kinds of. Similarly, more and more such robust, so strong departments, research department, academic departments would be established across the country, which not only educate our youth and adults, but also empower them to to start the small business in the agriculture field, also to start up start for the startup entrepreneurship, for the food processing units, to conservation, to all kinds of things, agriculture related or food processing related things can be done by our present youth and adults also. So, these things kind of, so education, information, education and follow up, monitoring, follow up, it is a regular cycle, learning cycle that has to be carried out. So, with this I am just stopping it right now, or we will continue in the next class. Thank you very much.